In this demonstration, we want to show you an integration between the 3DEXPERIENCE platform and Aras Innovator. The scenario is as follows. The 3DEXPERIENCE platform is used by designers and content creators, and they create things like CAD files, CAD assemblies, and along with those files they have associated specifications. Aras Innovator is used by a wider audience, and it serves as a read-only system where users can come in and they can see these specifications that have been released over in the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. So when one of these designers takes a particular CAD file and he releases that CAD file, we want to take the associated specification and copy it over into Aras Innovator. This happens using the Clover integration framework from Razorleaf. Clover sits in between these two platforms and facilitates the communication between these two platforms. So before we begin, let's just take a quick look at our environment and see what we have. First of all, inside of 𝘼𝘍𝙊𝙊𝙀, we have a number of CAD parts. These CAD parts, in this case, all have the word pressure in them. And again, the scenario is one of these CAD parts will be released. If we take a look at one of these CAD parts, we can also notice that if we look at the associated specifications, that they have a specification linked to them. That specification in this case happens to be a PDF file, and that's what we want to copy over into Aras Innovator. So when one of these CAD parts releases, it should then be sent over to Aras Innovator using the Clover integration framework. If we go over into Aras, we can see we have a location called specifications. Currently, there's nothing in that location, but when we do the release in 𝘼𝘍𝙊𝙀, we will have that information sent over to Innovator. Finally, in between these two systems, we've got the Clover integration tools from Razorleaf. This platform allows a system to send a message to a queue. That message then gets processed based on however it's configured, and then sends information over to a destination system. Currently, if we look at our event queue, you'll notice that it's empty. There's nothing waiting to be processed yet. That will change in just a moment. So back to the 3DEXPERIENCE platform, let's take one of these particular CAD parts, and currently it's sitting at the approved state. Again, the scenario is when we release it, this event triggers. Just so you know, this event could be configured to fire on any trigger within 𝘼𝘍𝙊𝙀. In this case, we have it on released. It could be configured to trigger on any event where you can fire a trigger inside of 𝘼𝘍𝙀. So we'll go ahead and do a promote that will move this from the approved state over to the release state. Now, if we take a look at Clover now, when we look at the queue, if we refresh that queue, you'll notice we have an item that has just appeared in that queue. And this item represents that event that just took place in the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. So the way it works is this. A message gets sent to the queue, and that message is really a very simple message. The message would say something like, Part 123 was just released. Clover is then configured to know what to do when Part 123 releases. In this case, it's going to connect to the 3DEXPERIENCE platform, get all of the metadata about that part, get all of the files about that part, and then connect to Innovator and send that information over. Now, you'll notice that we have the ability to configure a number of different pieces of metadata, so we can configure what information to get out of the source system and where to put it in the destination system. And finally, you'll notice, according to this check mark up in the upper right corner, that this item has actually already been processed. Clover processes messages that come into the queue based on priority, or where no priority is specified, it would be a first in, first out scenario. In this case, there's nothing else going on inside of Clover, so this message processes almost instantaneously. If we head over to Innovator now, where previously we had no specifications in the system, if I rerun that search, you'll notice that a specification has shown up. If we take a look at that specification, a couple things that you'll notice is, first of all, the metadata, including the description and the revision, those were brought over from the source system. So automatically Clover extracts that information from 𝘼𝘍𝙀𝙀 and then copies it over to Innovator when it adds this new specification to Innovator. The other thing that you'll notice is that the PDF that was associated with that file over in Innovia has been brought over and placed in Innovator as well. If I take a look at that file, it's the same PDF that we saw earlier when we were inside of Innovia. Now in this scenario, we did a single direction integration. Data from a source system through Clover to a destination system. Clover also supports bidirectional scenarios. So it could be that there are then changes or additions that are made inside of Innovator, and those changes need to be passed back over to Innovia. Clover supports that scenario as well. And finally, Clover supports scenarios where we have not just a one-to-one integration like we saw today, but a one-to-many integration. There might be scenarios where you have a single source system like Innovia, but multiple destination systems. It may be that you want to put the specification inside of Innovator. You also want to put some information out on a SharePoint site that may include this PDF file. Or maybe in addition, you want to put information in your ERP system about this newly released part. Clover supports that scenario. Again, a single incoming message to the queue can cause multiple outgoing processes to be fired. Thank you for watching the demo, and contact Razorleaf if you have any questions.